My name is Carl Xingchen. It sounds cool, right? In fact, I am a guy who digs soil from the international community, specializing in studying the aliens that are so ancient that even the Imperial archives have not been recorded. To put it bluntly, I am an international archaeologist. My job is to deal with a bunch of broken stones and raw lenses. I try to figure out what those aliens were fucking thousands of years ago. However, don't listen to this work boring, it's actually exciting. After all, you never know if the next stone will hide the secret that can change the entire galaxy. That day, my team and I were on a small broken planet in the galaxy. The code was X-47. The environment was extremely harsh. The ground was covered with gray-black sand, and there was a strange smell in the air, like a burnt circuit board. There is no such name on this planet, and the Empire map labeled No Man's Zone, which means that no one will come to this ghost place except us who are not afraid of death. My flight star digging number was parked far away, and the ship was covered with scratches from sand, which looked as bad as my mood. Carl, are you sure there is really something here? Lena Shadowblade's voice came from the communication device, carrying a slight impatience. She is my partner, and she is also the former deputy chief of the Imperial Star, a genius in combat, and an expert in analyzing the weakness of the gentry. In short, it is the kind of person you never want to quarrel with. She was standing at a low point several hundred meters away from me, holding the detector and scanning the ground. The battle suit she was covered in dust and was stained with sand, but she was still so cruel. Lena, believe me, the old professor's coordinates are not wrong. I said, and used the poop laser cutter in my hand to clean a huge black stone slab in front of me. The surface of the slab is engraved with strange symbols, which looks like a certain language, but it is not related to any civilization known to the Empire. Old Professor Gren, my supervisor, and a legendary figure in the field of star archaeology, spent several decades studying these ancient alien aerial beings during his lifetime. Before he passed away, he left me an encrypted data, which marked the X-47's coordinates, saying that there was an answer to change everything. I thought he was joking at that time, but now looking at this slate, I feel indescribable. This thing is absolutely not simple. Change everything? Humph, don't be a waste of time again, waste our time. Lena's words were full of doubts. She used to fight the zombie tribe with the starship and saw too many bloody scenes, and she has never been disdainful of my dig Gaius attitude towards me. However, she would still accompany me to these broken places, maybe because she thought I would kill myself alone. Hey, don't say that. What about all this time I really dug out a big baby? I replied with a smile, and then continued to focus on my work. The laser cutter made a low buzz, and the sand and debris on the stone slabs were slightly removed, revealing more symbols. These symbols look like strings of spiral lines, intersecting each other, forming a larger pattern. I looked at my eyebrows and tried to recall the decoding skills taught by the old professor, but my brain was blank. At this moment, a sudden alarm came from the communication, followed by Lena's shout, "Carl, pay attention. The detector has captured abnormal energy fluctuations, and the source is near you." What? Energy fluctuation? I was stunned for a moment, and the cutter in my hand almost fell to the ground. There's no such volcanic activity as a wasteland planet like X-47. Where does the energy fluctuate? But before the words finished, the ground under my feet suddenly vibrated slightly, like a low-frequency cofish when some kind of machine started. The symbols on the stone slabs began to emit a faint blue light, flashing in as if they had come alive. Lena, this thing seems to have reacted. My voice was trembling, and my eyes were staring at the stone slab. The blue light became brighter and brighter, and the light lines between the symbols began to connect, forming a complete pattern, a huge circle with a shape similar to the rotation of the galaxy in the center. My heart beat faster, and there was only one thought in my brain: this is definitely not an ordinary stone, this is a kind of technological thing. Carl, don't get in touch. Back off. Lena's voice came from the communication device, carrying a rare tightness. She obviously also saw the situation here through remote monitoring. I could hear her fast-running steps and was probably heading towards me. But I didn't hear her. It's not that I don't want to listen, but that I can't control myself at all. The blue light seemed to have a magical power, which made me unable to help but reach out and touch the rotating pattern in the center of the stone slab. Just as my fingertips touched the stone slab, a strong flow spread throughout my body from my palm, and a bunch of strange pictures suddenly flashed through my brain. Countless huge ships fighting in the sea of stars, dark worms covering the sky, and glorious alien cities collapsed in the flames. These pictures were so fast that I couldn't react, but each piece was as clear as if it was seen by my neighbors. "Carl! What are you fucking?" Lena's voice was so close that she finally ran to me, grabbed my shoulder and pulled me open. I stumbled back a few steps, my brain was still buzzing, and the picture just now disappeared quickly like a dream, but the shock in my heart never dissipated for a long time. "Lena, I saw something." I gasped, trying to illustrate my experience just now, like some kind of memory, or message. "There are wars, there are zombies, and there are some huge ships." Lena stared at her eyebrows, looked at me, and then at the slab that was still glowing, and her face became unusually serious. "This is not ordinary life, Carl. This could be a message storage device, a technology used by ancient aliens to transmit information. You touched it and received the content inside." "Message storage device?" I was stunned for a moment, and immediately responded, "Are you saying that there are historical records of ancient aliens hidden in this thing? Maybe it's not just history." Lena's words were low and she was filled with a slightest in her eyes. "If the Zodiac tribe mentioned here is true, then this message may be more important than we imagined. The Empire is now fighting with the Zodiac tribe. If these ancient aliens knew the weaknesses of the Zodiac tribe, or any technology that could help us." She didn't finish it, but I knew what she meant. The Celestial tribe has been the greatest threat to the Empire in the past few years. Those monsters came from deep space, with a large number of them like locusts, and reproduction was surprisingly fast. Even the most elite fleets in the Empire were beaten to retreat. The ultimate weapon of the Empire, the Star Wars, is said to be the only hope that can destroy the maternal nest of the Zodiac, but this thing has long since become a pile of wastelands due to the loss of the energy core, and is set up on the road of the core star of the Empire. If there is really any trace of this trajectory that can help us start the starship, it is not a trivial matter. We have to take this slab back and find professional equipment to read," I said, squatting down and preparing to lift the slab with a stool-type gravity crust. But at this moment, a harsh noise suddenly came from the communication device, followed by another member of our team's surprise, "Carl! Lena! There is an unusual ship approaching, and the speed is extremely fast, and the signal does not belong to the Empire." "What?" Lena turned her head suddenly, took out the combat tablet at her waist, and a red light spot was approaching the X-47 at a startling speed. Her face turned blue in an instant, and she lowered her voice and cursed, "Don't die, it's the outpost of the Celestial clan. Candlemen? How do they know we are here?" I felt a little nervous, and the gravity in my hand was almost unstable. In such a remote place, it shouldn't be a gangster activity. Maybe the energy waves attracted them. Lena gritted her teeth, quickly switched the communication channel, and ordered the other team members, "Everyone, go back to the star digging number immediately and prepare to fly in a hurry. Carl, don't worry about the stone slabs first, go." Although I am unwilling to give up, I also know that now is not the time to be a hero. The outposts of the Celestial clan are not something to play with. The monsters are best at tracking and rushing. Procrastination for a second can be fatal. I gritted my teeth, put down my gravity, and followed Lena toward the docking point. The sand flew under our feet, and a group of black shadows could be seen approaching quickly in the sky far away. It was a crocodile ship, with a strange black armored shell covering the surface of the ship, like a huge armored shell. The low-frequency buzzing sound, it makes people's skin numb, like the sound of countless crawling around their ears. "Dig the star, start the engine, prepare for the response." Lena ran and shouted at the communications. The sound of the flying boat's engines has been heard from afar, and my deputy has already prepared flights in the driving car. But I know that the speed of the Celestial Clan ship is far faster than our broken ship, and escaping is not a long time. Lena, if they lock us up, the Star Digger can't escape. I gasped and moved quickly in my brain. We have to find a way to delay time, or simply fight back. Response? Are you crazy? We don't have any weapons like this broken ship. Lena glared at me, but then she seemed to think of something, stopped her pace, turned to look at the slab that was still glowing. Wait, the energy wave just now. If you can touch it again, you may be able to interfere with the tracking system of the clan. Are you saying, use wild energy as a weapon? I was stunned for a moment, and immediately understood what she meant. The ships of the Celestials are extremely sensitive to energy fluctuations. If we can create a strong interference, it may really make them lose their goals in a short period of time. Try it, it's better to sit and wait for it to go. Lena clicked her head, ran back to the stone slab, took out the combat slab and began to scan the symbols on it, and tried to find the rules of the touching mechanism. I followed me, although I was in my heart, I also knew that this was the only way to do it at the moment. The blue light lit up again, and the symbols on the slab began to flash quickly, and the intensity of the energy fluctuation was obviously more intense than it was. I felt the ground under my feet tremble, and the air seemed to be filled with silence, making people feel uncomfortable. The far-off zombie ship seemed to be affected, and the flying zombie became a little confused, and the buzzing sound continued. It works! I couldn't help but shout, but Lena's face didn't relax. She stared at the data on the tablet and said in a low voice, "The waves are unstable and may be out of control at any time. Carl, if this explodes, we may not be left." "Then pray that it won't explode." I smiled bitterly, feeling unsure. The energy fluctuations became stronger and stronger, and the sand around the stone slabs were blown to dance all over the sky, as if forming a small storm. Although the clan ship was interfered, it did not stop completely. It was approaching us, and several sharp touching hands stretched out from the shell, as if ready to launch an attack. At this moment, the deputy's voice was transmitted from the communication device. "Carl, the star digging number is ready, but you have to hurry up. The clan ship is about to enter the attack range. Lena, we have to leave." I pulled her, but she was still focusing on the data on the tablet and trying to figure out the stable energy fluctuations. I know she is catching, and this sprint can help us fight for more time, but I also know that the next scene of catching mistakes is that the entire army will be defeated. The blue light suddenly burst, and the rotation pattern in the center of the slab seemed to be alive, and it began to rotate at high speed. A strong wave of shock burst out, directly overturning Lena and me to the ground. The far-off clan ship was hit by the wave of the raid, and a spark burst out from the surface of the shell, and the flying carriage was out of control and headed towards the ground. "It's done!" I got up and couldn't help but shout, but Lena's face became even more serious. She pointed to the slab and said in a low voice, "Carl, look, the message is coming again." I looked at her and saw the blue light on the stone slab gradually condensed into a new string of symbols, then slowly floating in the air, forming a three-dimensional star. In the middle of the star map, a huge model of the ship spiraled slowly, and there was a string of strange words beside it. Although I couldn't understand it, it just told me that this ship had some connection with the Imperial Starship. "Is this the threat of the starship?" I murmured, my heartbeat accelerated again. "The old professor said the answer to change everything is in this picture?" Lena didn't say anything, but quickly recorded the star chart data on the tablet, and then pulled me to the direction of the star dig. "Whatever this is, we have to survive first. The Celestial Clan will not have only one ship, there must be more behind it." I clicked my head and followed her to the flying boat. Far away, a group of smoke emerged from where the clan ships were destroyed, but in the darkness of the sky, more dark shadows were approaching. At that moment, I suddenly realized that this discovery might really change everything, not just the fate of Lena and me, but even the future of the entire empire. The engine of the star digging number was rushing around the ears, and Lena and I almost rolled into the flying boat door. Deputy Alk, a slut full of facial hair, sat in the driving box and saw us coming in. Lena shouted, "You are back. One step later, I don't care about you and fly. Stop talking, go. Lena closed the door and shouted at Alk. The sand on her face was not cleaned, but her eyes were full of tightness. I couldn't catch my breath either, so I rushed to the position of the auxiliary driver, staring at the observation window in front of me. In the sky outside, more black shadows of the clan ships are approaching, with more than the outpost just now, and it looks like a small-scale raid. Can the broken ships of star digging run through them? I couldn't help but ask, my heart rising and falling. If you can't run, you have to run. Alk gritted his teeth and pushed down the acceleration rod. The flying boat shook violently and rushed out of the air straight. The ship made a squeaking sound from the load, as if it would fall apart at any time. Through the observation window, I saw that the snail ship behind had locked us, and those strange touches extended from the surface of the shell, as if they were preparing to fire some kind of energy weapon. Lena, has that star data saved? I turned around and asked her, thinking about the three-dimensional star map that just appeared on the stone slab. That thing is too important. It may be the threat of the starship or even the key to the reversal of the battle. If we are fucked by the clan, all this will be in vain. Save it, but it's not the time to discuss this. Lena gritted her teeth and adjusted the defense system interface of the dig star from the combat tablet to try to start the old electromagnetic barrier. She ran her fingers on the screen quickly, and muttered in her mouth, if the barrier of this broken ship is not used, we will be really done. As the voice fell, a dazzling red light suddenly appeared behind the flying boat, followed by a low sound of thunder. The clan ship launched a certain energy beam and the pen rushed towards us. Alk slammed the direction plate, and the digging star flipped one side, barely avoiding the first strike, but the energy beam rubbed through the boat, and the armor at the tail was torn apart, and the alarm sounded sharply in the driving wheel. Don't die, the tail wing is snatched, the speed has dropped. Alk shouted loudly, and the sighs is full of sweat. My heart sank, knowing that if we continue like this, we will not be able to even get out of the air, let alone get rid of the sect clan. Lena, is there any way to use excessive energy waves to interfere with them? I suddenly thought of the scene that was just on the X-47. The impact waves of the stone slabs directly knocked down a clan ship. If you can come back again, you may be able to make a point of time. You're a toy, use it if you want. Lena glared at me, but then she seemed to know something and quickly flipped the data record on the tablet. But I saved the energy wave mode just now. If you could simulate a similar frequency, you might be able to interfere with their tracking system in a short time. But this takes time, and the communication array of the digger number has been temporarily modified into a transmitter. Then fuck. I gritted my teeth and said to Alk, you are dedicated to sailing and delaying time. Lena and I will go and redecorate the array. Alk clicks the head, no more words. Lena and I quickly rushed backwards, and the flying boat was attacked several more times on the way, and the ship was shocked as if it was about to fall apart. The backpack is full of various objects and tools. The control panel of the communication array is right among a bunch of broken copper irons, and it looks nothing like a waste product. Carl, help me to disassemble this panel. I need to directly connect to the core line. Lena said, taking out a casual tool set and starting to disassemble the outer shell of the array. I didn't say anything either. I took the wrench and the two of them collaborated to remove the panels, revealing a bunch of old circuit boards and cables inside. Are you sure this can work? I couldn't help asking, but I didn't stop the movement in my hand, but I still had no idea. After all, this communication array is one of the oldest components of the Star Digger. It is usually used to issue a message, not to mention that it simulates some energy fluctuations. How can you know if you don't try? Lena didn't raise her head, and her fingers flew to the circuit board quickly, while adjusting the frequency parameters using the data on the tablet. Her movements were so fast that it was dazzled, as if she had been fucked countless times. I secretly admire it in my heart. I am worthy of being the former deputy leader of the Killing Star fleet. This technical activity is really not a good thing. After a few minutes, Lena finally raised her head, wiped the sweat off her magnitude, and said, okay, the frequency simulation is completed and ready to ejaculate. But I have to remind you that this thing only has one chance, and it may damage the entire array and even cause a short-circuit explosion. Then just take a gamble. I gritted my teeth and signaled her to start. Lena didn't hesitate anymore and directly pressed the ejaculation key on the tablet. The communication array emitted a low buzzing sound, and then an invisible wave spread out from the back of the flying ship, like a ripple on the water surface, heading towards the direction of the crocodile ship. The effect is almost instantaneous. The squad ships behind suddenly seemed to have lost their goal, and the flying squad became chaotic. Some even began to collide with each other, and a group of sparks burst out on the surface of the shell. I saw this through the observation window of the rear and couldn't help but shout, "It's done. They're fucked." Don't be too excited too early, this effect lasts for a few minutes. Lena's voice was still very cold. She quickly turned off the accelerator power to avoid overloading the entire system. "Alk, take advantage of the acceleration now, rush out the air level, and prepare to jump." Received. Alk's voice came from the communication device, and the Star Digger engine rushed again, and its speed increased sharply, heading towards the X-47's massive air layer. Although the clan ship was interfered for a short time, it soon began to reorganize and continue to chase. However, the gap in these few minutes has been enough for us to escape from the gravity well and enter the jump preparation stage. The jumping coordinates are set, and the goal is the nearest Imperial Middle School redirection. Alk shouted, "You'd better help with your safety belt. This time you jump will not be comfortable." Lena and I quickly returned to the drive and helped the safety belt. The moment the jump engine started, the entire flying ship seemed to be torn, and the distorted space made people dizzy. The next second, the view outside the window changed from the gray-black atmosphere of the X-47 to a deep sea of stars. We finally got rid of the chasing of the clan, at least temporarily safe. Huh. I've survived. I let out a long breath and leaned against the seat, feeling that the energy in my body was exhausted. Lena was not much better either. She took off her combat surgery tablet and rubbed her son's vagina, but her face was still very solemn. "Don't relax, the clans can find the X-47, indicating that they may have locked the energy fluctuations of the scattered energy," she said in a low voice. "The star data we brought back will never fall into their hands." Star map. I clicked the head, and the huge model of the ship on the stone slab appeared in my brain. I just told me that thing can't be related to the Star Wars, and it may even be the key to activate the energy core. But the problem is that we can't understand the text on the star map now, let alone find the specific location. "Lena, what do you think this star image means?" I couldn't help but ask her, even though I knew she might not have an answer. "I don't know, but it must have something to do with the technology of ancient aliens." Lena put her eyebrows, tuning out the star data on the tablet, and enlarging the ship model. "Looking at this design, the scale is larger than any warship in the Empire, and it may even be the prototype of the starship. If you can find it, or the energy core hidden in it." She didn't finish it, but the meaning was clear. The Star of the Crown is the last hope of the Empire. If it can be activated again, it may really be able to reverse the battle between the Crown tribe. But the problem is that the zombies are obviously interested in the zombies, and may even know these secrets earlier than we do. We have to go back to the core star of the Empire and hand over the data to the people above," I said, and the brain had already started to calculate the next plan. The old professor may have a thread to interpret the star chart in the notes left by the old professor, so I have to go back and flip it. "Core star." Lena raised her eyebrows, with a slight suspicion in her language. "Carl, do you really think those bureaucrats will believe us? The energy core of the Star Wars has been lost for decades, and the people above have long given up. They are more likely to treat us as nonsense and go directly to the interview room. That's a trial, too." I gritted my teeth, and said, "The clans have chased X-47, so that they know the importance of being ill. If we don't act, the Empire will be over." Lena didn't respond anymore, but just clicked the head, which was considered to be accustomed to my plan. The star digging continues to sail in the sea of stars and moves towards the nearest central station. Although I was throwing away the clan at a moment, the anxiety in my heart became stronger and stronger. I always think things are not so simple. The discovery of the X-47 is just the beginning, and the bigger storm is still behind. A few days later, we finally arrived at the military station near the core star of the Empire. This place is a huge space station floating on the road of a blue-weather giant planet, with the Imperial patrol and replenishment ships being stopped around. As soon as the broken ship of Star Digger approached, Lima was trapped by several military vehicles, and a cold voice came from the communication channel. If you are not authorized to fly the ship, you will immediately report your identity and purpose, otherwise you will be regarded as the enemy's target. We are an international archaeological team, and we are deriving the star number. We apply for an emergency stop. I responded quickly and issued our identity verification code. The other party was silent for a few seconds before releasing it, but the language was still unpretentious. Dooring is allowed, but you have to undergo a comprehensive inspection. Get off the ship immediately after docking and wait for further instructions. If you check it. It's better than being chased by the clan. Alk muttered and stopped the star digging number into the designated berth. Lena and I got off the boat with star data. We were greeted by a team of Imperial soldiers in full-fitting clothes, and a middle-aged man in high-end military uniforms, with a blue face, as if who owed him millions of stars. I am responsible for the defense of this area. He opened his mouth and headed straight to the topic, his eyes as sharp as a knife. I heard that you have offended the Celestial clan in the galaxy, and what important discoveries have you brought back? My heart sank, knowing that this guy is not easy to deal with. I have heard of the name of the Imperial Wall Army. The current commander of the Imperial Star Wars has a tough personality like a steel plate. I don't believe that archaeological discoveries can change the situation. But now is not the time to retreat. I took a deep breath and opened my mouth. For the army, we discovered an ancient alien parade in X-47, with traces related to the starship. The zombies have already set their sights on that place. If we don't act, the consequences will be unbelievable. Slaying Star? ZB sneered, as if he heard some joke. That thing has been gone long ago. The energy core has been lost for decades. You guys who dug the soil are really dare to say it. Line? Take it and take a look, don't be silly. Lena didn't say anything. She directly crossed the war tablet, which showed the star data and the ship model. ZB glanced at it. Her face had not changed much, but there was a flash of doubt in her eyes. He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "This thing looks a bit interesting, but I don't believe you can understand it. The top scientists in the Empire can't handle the starship. What are you?" "We have research data left by old Professor Green." I quickly answered and tried to convince him. "If we can give us time and resources, we can uncover the secrets of the star map and say we can really find the energy core." The Iron Wall didn't answer immediately, but just looked us up and down for a while, and then said coldly, "Okay, I'll give you 3 days to prove that this thing is not nonsense. If you can't get results in 3 days, don't blame me for throwing you into the detention center." 3 days? I felt nervous. I knew that this time was not enough, but I had no choice but to stick to my head. The Iron Wall slapped our hands, allowing the soldiers to take us to the temporary residence, and at the same time, they did not accept the flying permission of the star digging number, which was obviously because they were afraid that we would run away. "Carl, this guy doesn't believe us," Lena said in a low voice. Her face was not very good-looking. "In 3 days, the text on the star map could not be solved, let alone found a specific location. No matter what, we have to try." I gritted my teeth and took out the encrypted data left by the old professor from my backpack. There must be a thread in the old professor's notes, so we will start researching tonight. For the next few hours, Lena and I had almost no eyes on each other and read the old professor's notes at our temporary residence. Those notes are full of symbols and charts, as well as some guesses about ancient alien civilizations, which are so numerous that it makes people feel head-on. But when I turned to the middle part, I suddenly saw a hand-painted straw picture, almost exactly the same as the rotating pattern on the X-47 slab, with a line of words marked next to it, "The core door, the key to the ultimate weapon." "Lena, look here." I pointed to the grass excitedly, my voice trembling a little. "The old professor has long known the meaning of this pattern. The core door. This must have something to do with the energy core of the star wave." Lena looked over and her eyes lit up. "If this is right, the star may point to a specific location, hiding the energy core's trajectory. But the question is, how to solve the coordinates on the star?" We continued to study until it was lightly dawn and finally found a series of contents similar to decoding formulas on the last page of our notes. The old professor used his method to record a symbol conversion rule. If you don't guess wrong, this is the key to solving the text of a star. Lena and I followed the formula and began to translate the contents on the star chart. Although it was progressing as slow as a bull, it was still a bit shaky. At this moment, the telecommunication of the residence suddenly erupted, and the sound of the iron wall came from it, bringing a sense of impatience. "Carl Star, you'd better make progress. I just received a frontline report, a large-scale collection of zodiacs, with the goal pointing directly to the edge of the galaxy. If what you find is really valuable, now is the time to prove it." I felt nervous and knew that things were more urgent than I thought. The zombies have already moved, and if they find the secrets in the zombie first, the Empire will really have no hope. I said to the communications, "We have already made a breakthrough by giving us more time." "Breakthrough? Humph, I'll wait and see." ZB snorted coldly and then cut off the communication. Lena and I looked at each other and saw pressure in each other's eyes, but there was no other way, so we could only continue to bury the head and decode it. As time passes by minute by second, the text on the star map is gradually translated, pointing to an unknown star field located at the depth of the galaxy. That place is completely blank on the Imperial map, but according to the old professor's notes, it may be the location of the core gate. "Carl, if this position is okay, we have to go there right away." Lena said softly, her speech was full of determination. "The clan will not wait for us, nor will the Empire." I clicked my head and had already prepared my mind. Believe it or not, we have to act. The secret of the starship, the future of the Empire, and even the fate of the entire galaxy may be determined by our next choice. Lena and I looked at each other and knew in our hearts that time was no longer standing here. The coordinates on the star map point to an unknown star field deep in the edge of the galaxy. There is no mark on the Imperial map, it is purely a black hole-like existence. But the old professor's notes clearly wrote that it was the so-called core door, which is likely to contain the energy core of the star. We don't have to choose, we can only win one. "Lena, we have to convince the Iron Wall army and take us to the rescue with a few ships." I rubbed my sore eyes, and there was a burst of fatigue in the sound. After several hours of continuous failure, my brain was almost muddy, but now it is not a time to rest. Say he was convinced? Lena sneered, leaned against the table, and held her chest with both hands. "Carl, you see that guy doesn't believe us. Borrowing a boat? It would be great if you don't throw us directly into the detention center. That's a trial, too." I gritted my teeth, stood up and packed up the old professor's data plate and Lena's combat tablet. The sects have begun to gather, and we don't have time to spend with him here. If he doesn't help, we will think of our own way. Lena clicked the head a little and didn't respond anymore. She knew that once I decided on anything, even the 10-headed cows would not be able to pull back. So we cleaned up briefly and headed straight to the Iron Wall Army's command room. The corridor of the space station was cold, and the two sides were full of soldiers in full dress, and the atmosphere was so stressful that it made people breathless. We walked to the door of the guide room, and the two guards kept us in, looking at the suspect. "The soldiers are busy and there is no time to see you," one of the soldiers said coldly, pressing his hand on the weapon at his waist. "Tell him that we have key information about the movement of the clan, which is related to the survival of the Empire," I said with a stern face, as steady as possible. The soldier hesitated for a moment and still reported it with a communication device. After a few minutes, the door finally opened, and the iron wall stood the army inside, and the face was still so difficult to see, as if it was going to fire at any time. You'd better have real things, not a bunch of empty words. He snorted coldly and signaled us to go in. Lena and I didn't know each other, but directly put the decoded star data and the content about Core Gate in the old professor's notes in front of him. The Army, this coordinate pointing to the depths of the galaxy, may contain the energy core of the sacred star. I pointed to the position on the star and made my voice sound convincing. The clans have begun to gather towards the celestial world, and they may also know this place. If we don't act and the energy core falls into their hands, there is no hope for the Empire. The Iron Wall stared at the starry sky for a long time, with no expression on his face, but I could feel his heart burping. Finally, he spoke. His language was still hard. You guys who dig the soil always like to say things are chaotic. Energy core? Humph, the Empire has been searching for decades but has no trace. What can you find? Because we have the research results of the old professor. Lena answered, her voice was cold but with unquestionable force. He spent a lot of research on ancient alien aerials, and these ropes were exchanged by him. You know more than us about the war situation in the front line, that the Imperial defense line could no longer be swept away. If this core really could start the starship, wouldn't it be worth a fight? The Iron Wall was silent, and his eyes looked back several times between us. Finally, he spoke heavily, as if he had agreed. Okay, I'll give you a guard and a team, but don't expect me to invest more resources. If this is an empty run, you'll wait for the military court. Thank you, the Army. I felt relieved and hurriedly said. Although only one guard was given, it was stronger than our single gun. The Iron Wall slapped his hands, letting us slap the eggs before leaving, and then threw a sentence, come back within 3 days, otherwise I will defect to you. Lena and I looked at each other and relaxed our breath, but the pressure did not decrease. In 3 days, who knows what you will encounter in the ghostly place deep in the galaxy. Although the star digging number was broken, it was my old friend at least, so I decided to bring it, and the guard sent by the Iron Wall was responsible for fire support. After a few hours we gathered in the berth area of the space station. The guardrail provided by the Iron Wall is called Thunder. Although it is not the most advanced warship in the Empire, its firepower and speed are much stronger than that of the Star Digger. The head of the ship is a young military officer named Roan. He has a disdain on his face, and he certainly doesn't look down on us as a dig guy. Alk also went on the road with us. Although he complained, he still actually sat in the digging star. The coordinates are set, and the target star domain is 3 jump points away from here. Lena operated on the navigation system of the star digging number, carrying a tight spot in her language. That place belongs to an unexplored area, and even the unmanned detectors from the Empire have not been arrived. We have to prepare mentally. No matter what, we have to go. I patted her on the shoulder and tried to make the atmosphere relax, but I was actually unsure. The jump engine starts, the Star Digger and Thunder enter the super space one after another, and the starry sea twists into a blurry group of light and shadow outside the observation window. After a few hours of jumping, we finally reached the edge of the target star field. At first glance, there is a dead silence, no stars, no planets, only countless floating gravel and dust, like the destruction of a certain galaxy. The navigation system shows that the space structure here is abnormally unstable, and cracks or gravitational abnormalities may occur at any time. Ron's voice came from the Thunder's communication channel. Carl, are you sure there is something in this broken place? My detector can't sweep anything. The star map is very clear, and the core door is deep in this star field. I responded, while allowing Lena to make a comparison of the data. A little further forward, you should be able to find a trace. The 2 flying boats continued to go deeper, and the atmosphere became increasingly depressing. Suddenly, Lena's combat tablet emitted a rapid alarm. She looked down and her face changed instantly. Carl, I detected an abnormal energy wave. The source was in front, but this wave mode is very similar to the space rift of the zombie. Khan's clan? I felt nervous in my heart, and the horse turned around and looked at the observation window. In the darkness ahead, a twisted light and shadow were spreading open, as if a hole was torn into the space. Then, several Cyprus ships were diamonded out of the cracks, and the surface of the shell was flashing with strange green light. Although the amount was not large, the air only made people's skin numb. "Thunder, prepare for a fight." I shouted at the communication device, and at the same time let Alk adjust the stance of the star digging number and prepare to avoid it. Ron responded quickly. The Thunder weapon system was already online and the main gun started to charge. But I know in my heart that since the zombies can open rifts here, it means that they have prepared a lot, and they may have backups. "Carl, look at the center of the crack." Lena suddenly pointed ahead, with a shock in her voice. I looked at her and saw a huge structure floating in the depths of the crack, shaped like a ring-shaped space station, but the surface was filled with symbols similar to those on the X-47 slab, emitting faint blue light. "That's the core." I almost stooped out and my heart beat faster. The structure is larger than I expected, like the ultimate technological extremism of some ancient aliens. But the problem is that the zombie ship is guarding its surroundings, as if it has long known the importance of this place. "Thunder, cover us up." I shouted to Roan, "The Star Digger will try to connect to the structure. We have to get the energy core in front of the clan." "Are you crazy? That thing is full of snails." Llewellyn's voice was full of disdain, but he still heard the order. The main gun of the Thunder went on fire, and the energy beam directly hit a snail ship, and the shell fragments scattered in the dark. The battle was instantly affected, and the dig number, under the cover of the Thunder, braved the risk of being hit towards the core door. The attacks of the zombies were extremely fierce, and the energy beams and shell fragments kept rubbing through the ships of the digging star, and the alarm kept responding to the driving. Alk gritted his teeth and controlled the flying ship, avoiding wave after wave of attacks, and kept cursing in his mouth, "If this broken ship is hit by another one, we will become space garbage. Hold on for a while, it will be here soon." I stared at the core door ahead. The blue light became brighter and brighter, and the details of the symbols gradually became clearer. Lena has begun scanning the entrance to the structure and try to find the connection point. Finally, the star digging number narrowly approached one side of the core door, and a structure similar to a docking port appeared in front of us. "Carl, I found the entrance, but the energy fluctuation display has a defense system inside." Lena quickly reported, her face not very good looking. "If you enter vigorously, you may find a self-destructive mechanism. Then you have to go in and out quickly." I gritted my teeth, quickly put on the lid protective clothing, and took the laser cutter and data collector. "Lena, come in with me. Alk guards the flying boat, ready to evacuate at any time." Lena clicked her head and made preparations quickly. We entered the core through the air gate, and the Thunder fire cover continued to rush in the communications. Obviously the battle was still going on. The inside of the structure is like a maze, and the two sides of the passage are full of ancient symbols and light energy lines. A low-frequency buzzing sound is circulating in the air, making people feel uncomfortable. "Carl, the energy core should be in the central area." Lena looked at the scan results on the war tablet and said in a low voice, "But I have to remind you that the zombies may have come in too, so we have to be careful." I clicked the head, held the laser cutter in my hand, and walked quickly along the channel. Before I walked far, a strange low sound suddenly came from the front, like the sound of countless crawling animals crawling. My heart was tightened, and Lima signaled Lena to stop. The next second, several CYGMY warriors rushed out from the corner of the passage, and their spiked limbs came straight for us. "Die it!" Lena reacted very quickly, took out a combat gun and opened several guns. The energy beam directly penetrated the head of a clan, but more monsters came from behind. I used a laser cutter as a weapon to barely hold a clan's attack, but the force was so strong that my arms numb. "Get back, I'll come!" Lena shouted, took out a high-energy bullet from her waist and threw it into the group. The explosion of the impact waves trembled the channel, and the fragments of the clan's limbs scattered, finally giving us a little space. We took the opportunity to cross the passage and ran towards the central area. Finally, we reached a huge circular hall with a luminous sphere floating in the center, and blue energy flowing on the surface, as if we were alive. The surrounding walls are full of stars and symbols, exactly the same as the pattern on the X-47 slab. My heart beat faster and I knew that this was the energy core of the Star Wars. "Carl, collect data quickly, we have no time," Lena said, and used a flat plate to scan the energy waves of the ball. I quickly connected to the data collector and started downloading the core control code, but at this moment, a strong vibration suddenly came from the channel on the other side of the hall, and then a huge figure appeared. That is the Queen of the Celestial Clan, Devour. Her body shape is several times larger than that of ordinary Zodiac tribes. The surface of the armor shell is flashing with a dark green light, and several touching hands dance in the air, as if they can tear the space itself apart. Her appearance made the air in the entire hall feel pressured, and Lena and I froze almost at the same time. "Human, you shouldn't come here." Shirkon's voice sounded directly in my brain, low and harsh, as if countless sounds were added together. "This core belongs to us, and the fate of the galaxy has long been destined. It's destined to be a big deal." I gritted my teeth, suppressed the fear in my heart, and continued to speed up the download data. Lena then slapped in front of me, holding her gun tightly, and preparing for an attack on Shirkong at any time. But I knew in my heart that we were not her opponent at all. "Carl, has the data download been completed?" Lena asked in a low voice, with a trembling sound. The sky-swallowing touch had begun to approach us, and a breath of death was filled with the air. "It's a little bit too far." I stared at the progress of the collector, silently chanting the quick spot in my heart. Finally, the moment the sky-swallowing touched Lena, the data download was completed. I pulled out the collector and shouted, "Lena, run!" We turned around and ran towards the passage when we came. The roar of the Hokage rose from behind, and we followed him with the sound of breaking the air. The energy lines on both sides of the channel begin to flash unsteadily, as if the entire structure is about to collapse. We finally got back to the gate, and the door of the star digging number was opened. Alk shouted in the communication device, "Come on, Thunder no can't stop." Lena and I almost rolled into the flying boat, and the star digging number immediately set off and headed out of the core door. The firepower of the Thunder has been significantly weakened, and the ship is full of scars. It is obvious that the battle with the Celestial Tribe has made them lose their worries. Ron's voice came from the communication device, carrying a weak spot. "Carl, did you get it? If you don't leave, we will all die. Get it, ready to jump." I responded quickly, and at the same time let Lena transmit the data to Thunder as a backup. The star digging and Thunder started the jump engine at the same time. At the moment of twisting space, I saw through the observation window that the core door began to collapse, and the blue light and debris exploded in the darkness. The roar of the sky was swallowed up. After a few hours, we finally returned to the space station near the core star of the Empire. The iron wall greeted us by the army. Although her face was still so smelly, there was a little more recognition in her eyes. He looked at the energy core data we brought back and was silent for a long time before he said in a low voice, "It seems that you are really capable of these diggers." "The army, the core data has been downloaded, and the starship can be activated again." I gasped, trying to make myself look less wolves, "But the Queen of the Clan is not dead, she may be back. We have to get the time to prepare." The iron wall pointer turned around and ordered the adjutant on his side, "Call the technical team immediately and start the repair process of the Star Wars. Carl, you and your team, come with me, we have to make the next plan." Lena and I followed the iron wall toward the center of the guide. When we passed the observation window of the space station, we saw a huge figure of the starry sky awakening in the remote sea of stars, and the blue light from the energy core illuminated the darkness around us. At that moment, a burst of hope surged in my heart, but I also knew that this battle was never over. The threat of the Celestial Clan is still there, and the Angry's anger may fall at any time. We got the energy core, but the real challenge just began.